Welcome to the second annual Midwest Innovation and Entrepreneurship Summit, hosted by College of DuPage and Innovation DuPage. DuPage is home to Fortune 500 companies, 19 colleges and universities, 2 national labs, and a thriving entrepreneurial ecosystem. Whether you are a startup with an established firm, an educator teaching the entrepreneurial mindset, or someone dedicated to economic development, reach out to us. Let's connect to advance this work. Thanks for watching. The Midwest is a place where we get things done together.
AI and the future of work. It'll probably change by the end of the panel, the latest technology, but it is a crazy moving world. And you know, at WGN Radio, where I host, a lot of our listeners are 50, 60, 70, 80 years old, and they are as fascinated about it as anyone else. It is not just a young person's game, AI. It's a technology that a lot of people are learning and eager to adapt, even if it's as simple. On my show, I did a challenge to a couple years ago for everyone to try ChatGPT. I gave everyone some homework, and we had a lot of listeners calling in about planning vacations using it, finding out new ways to write things, and someone even wrote a eulogy using ChatGPT. And that someone was me, actually. I used it to help memorialize my incredible uncle. And there was a really skeptical, and of course I didn't just copy and paste what it said, but I was blown away by it and have been ever since. So to dive into this a little bit, we have Anshul Sonak. He's the Principal Engineer, Global Director, and Head Digital Readiness Programs. That is a long title at Intel. We have Hernán Londono, Chief Technology and Innovation Strategist at Lenovo, and TJ Raines, the Managing Director for Higher Education at Workday. I'd like to start these out 30 seconds each. Anshul, welcome, and give us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me here. So principal engineer without an engineering degree, that kind of should show you what future of work should be, right? So I'm a future of work specialist, driving large-scale public-private partnerships.
Okay. Hernán?
That was less than 30 seconds, by the way. So now I have like 45.
He wants more questions for the audience,
yeah.
So I like what he did there.
So technology, innovation, and strategist in my title, and those are the 3 things that I do. The convergence of those 3 things in higher education specifically. And I get to do these kinds of things on a day-to-day basis from the stage, but also from sitting with all of you at the table and just getting projects done. So that's pretty much what I do.
TJ?
Hi, everybody, and thank you so much for your attendance. This is really, really exceptional to be a part of. My name is TJ Raines, and I serve as Managing Director for Higher Education at Workday. And Workday is a technology company. Of course, we provide ERP, next-generation ERP services with AI embedded at the core. And that's really, my job is evangelizing that and really talking about how Workday is helping institutions and helping organizations build upon their current operations and become better equipped to manage for the future using AI.
Oh, great stuff. All right, I'm gonna start with you, Anshul. And this is a loaded question, but we get so many calls and texts about AI, and it really is such a exciting thing, groundbreaking. I mean, you cannot make up enough words to explain it. There's a lot of fear behind it, what it could bring, whether we're talking about job losses, or we're just talking about the intellectual idea of generative technology, replacing artists, replacing that. I don't need you to wax poetic about everything, but do you find this to be an incredibly exciting field to work in? Do you share some of those fears and concerns? What's it like to be in the middle of all this?
So middle is the right word. In AI, you will have 2 extreme conversations of extreme hype coming from Silicon Valley, all the valuation. Oh, AI will change the world. 15 trillion economic gain. Extreme hype.
Extreme hype.
Extreme horror. Oh, everything can go wrong. AI slop. More than 50% of the world content right now is slop generated by AI. So trust is going down. What do I trust? So extreme horror. I think what this group is doing here in the room is the right thing. Middle. You need new hope. What can AI do to solve my problem as a small business, my state, my economy, my innovation engine? That's the hope conversation required.
I think what's strange about AI is I feel like we're learning how to use it as it's learning how to be a thing. right? It hallucinates. It makes mistakes along the way. I mean, it's not that unusual from how we all learned how to use the internet and how to navigate the world of chat rooms and how to, .com bubbles or vehicles. They didn't work quite as well as they should at first. But is that part of the fear that people have, is that we're learning how to use it at the same time that it's learning about us?
Oh, totally. So you're driving a car while building a car and really putting a vehicle and wheel on that, right? The way, when I did my first AI qualification way back in 2016-17, I remember one of my prof who wrote this book on collective intelligence in MIT. He described it in a very different way. AI is not just a new technology. Of course, it's a technology, but that's not it. There are two more things. It's a new intelligence. It's a new intelligence at your disposal. And third, it's a new field of study, the new field of whole human-machine collaboration partnership. You have to keep all the three things in perspective to figure out what is collectively right thing. If you really take only one aspect out of the three, then you can kind of get lost. But you have to see the whole forest instead of an individual tree to make a real sense of it.
Yeah. The exponential growth of it, I think, is what has been crazy and exciting and fearful, is because we've been using like a chat bot for a while, right? Like, Meta had a chat bot. You could, or you're talking with they outsourced, their customer service to a chat bot. It was clunky. It didn't work. And then we woke up in 2022 and everyone had all this generative AI, which of course speaks to the rapidity of how quickly it's moving. You mentioned that what people are doing in the room is the right thing, down the middle. Is it really about learning as much as possible as we can and just finding those little things in our lives and our work and our companies that work for us and trying to tune out the rest of the noise or just wait to see what's coming? Like, I feel like often everyone tells you AI is going to change everything about what we do. That's almost so overwhelming that it's almost intimidating to even start.
Totally. I get that point all the time doing these partnership programs around the world. If you really bring the productivity element, personal productivity element, then yes, AI can be of a great help. But you have to kind of figure out that, hey, this is not just about personal productivity alone. What about organization purpose? What about societal purpose, right? If you take that broader leap, then there's a lot more which we as a humans can do with AI, right? So AI can solve a lot of individual productivity gains, but AI literacy is not equal to true organization fluency, right? True organization fluency is not equal to organization societal ROI. So I think we need to really, now is a time to understand at a much more deeper level, right? What's a true human-machine partnership is? What's authentic intelligence and insight, right? AI as an automation tool or AI as an augmentation superpower? Going beyond an augmentation superpower, how can I get more autonomy and agency to drive change? I think that's a new narrative we need to really bring in for the businesses, especially for the small businesses who are really struggling with these issues.
I mean, you mentioned partnership. Yep. I mean, you feel like it's a partnership and an empowerment tool in many ways for people to accelerate. Yep. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. If I had to kind of give one color on that,
please.
Right? So BCG actually came up with a very interesting research last year on what are the key choke points for the small businesses. And that's also related to the academia in that sense, for you to gain an insight, right? I call it as a 10-20-70 rule. 10% of the failures are related to AI itself. What algorithm you are using? Are you using it in the right way? And so on and so forth. The 20% is then data and compute. What infrastructure, what data? The remaining 70% of the choke point are people and culture, right? So, I mean, this is why I call it as a true leadership crisis, right? If you really just bring a new member in your home without changing the home family dynamics, you will have genuine tensions, right? So you have to now figure out a new culture, right? How many of the organizations really spend leadership conversation, leadership moment, okay, how do I really redesign my workflow and workforce together? Instead of just throwing AI on top of my workforce, well, techie guys, 2% of the audiences worldwide will get it. They will solve it, right? AI engineers, AI developers, AI researchers. What happened to the regular guys? So this is where this conversation has to be a leadership conversation rather than a technology conversation.
Okay. Hernán, we can jump off at any point there, but Lenovo, what do you see as the changing world of productivity and AI and how it all relates to what you're all doing?
Right. So probably I'm going to refer to things that I heard this morning through the sessions and through the keynotes. one of the things that came up, actually two themes came up this morning, risk and competitive advantage, right? And I think those two things have changed significantly because of AI. And so if you think about risk profile before ChatGPT, so let's say 2020, we already had AI and people were beginning to use it. And the risk profile at the time was, what we're doing is risky. We're going to try something that nobody has ever tried before. And a few companies did it, and in case of higher ed, a few institutions of higher education went and did it, and they were successful. And ChatGPT comes out, and the risk profile changed. All of us are not longer asking how risky it is to do this. What we're asking is, what is the risk of not doing it? And this is where we are today, and it changed. The risk profile changed in a matter of 2-3 years. So when you think about competitive advantage, right, and that's companies like Lenovo and Intel and others, we have to think about that. And competitive advantage now is very volatile. It disappears very quickly. Back in the day, a company had competitive advantage with a product and could be the leading product for a decade without doing too much. That's not the case today. Yeah, and so you think about Lenovo and AI, for example. We invested the first $1 billion in 2017 in AI, the first $1 billion. And the output of that is 24 quarters being the #1 PC company in the world. And we measure that by quarters, not by years, because that is volatile. And we have to continue to move ahead of that competitive advantage that everybody's looking for. So the mindset changed. And that, I think it's, people in this room, I heard that today, and not everybody is in the same level playing field, but I think for everybody, the question is not, are we doing this? The question is, how quick can I do this?
I think a question also is, what am I going to do with AI? Right? I think that for a lot of folks who are not as tech savvy, or maybe they are tech savvy, but like in my job, the radio host, I mentioned earlier, I come up with fun little trivia questions because I can ask it, I want some fun story about a Chicago business from the past. Give me a few examples and I'll try and craft something out of this. Or I'm going to talk with an expert on this today. What are 10 questions you'd want to ask? And of course, I don't just ask the 10 questions. I use that as a thought experiment to where to go next. And then I'm out of ideas. And maybe that's just the limitations of my job. I know everyone is representing so many different businesses and companies, but where do you even get started if you're like, where can I use AI more efficiently if you just don't know that much about the products that are available?
Hey, it's a fantastic question. I'm going to probably answer with a story. I live in Fort Lauderdale, and if you're familiar with Fort Lauderdale, Miami, particularly in Miami, there's a lot of Cuban bakeries. And so, and it's a very traditional business. These businesses are owned by Cubans who left Cuba in the 60s with the really good recipes for the coffee and the pastries, and that's the only thing they do, and that's what everybody buys. And I was teaching a class. I'm a computer scientist by training, and I was teaching a class, and I had a student around 2020, and she took my class, and she finished, and she said, she asked me a question, like, what should I do next? And I said, I think AI is going to be this big thing. Why don't you get some courses with AI? And she did. And last year, I was invited to a panel at one of the local institutions, and I see her name as a panelist for an AI session. And I came in early, and she was speaking about this, and she said, look, we had 2 bakeries owned by my grandfather and my grandmother, and I was doing a degree in business, and they're old, and they asked somebody in the family to take over, and I did. And she saw me in the audience, and she pointed at me. She says, Dr. Londono told me to go take some AI classes, so I did. And the first thing she did is she thought about, how do I apply AI in a Cuban bakery? You think about that for a second, and the connection is just not there, except she realized when she used it the first time that the inventory management was probably 20% inefficient. That was the first thing she found. So she began to work on an AI-driven inventory management system for 2 bakeries.
Like to know which products to buy, which ingredients to buy, how much of it, how long they last.
When to buy them, because this is perishable things that you have in a bakery. So they were wasting a lot of things. They were buying too much and they weren't using it on time. They were getting rid of that. And so she did that, and that yielded some efficiency. And she and her family decided that now they can open another bakery. Now it's not 2, now it's 3. And she kept looking at it, and grandma, who owned all the recipes, was getting ill, and she decided to get a model trained with all the recipes that grandma had for all the things that they did in that bakery. And she did that. And so, okay, fine, we have the knowledge now. If something happens to grandma, we can continue to do things. And then she came up with the next idea. She asked AI, use the same recipes, but create some innovation. Give me some new pastries out of this. And that business just exploded. And now they have 5 bakeries, and now she's speaking about AI. And so if you want to connect with AI, it doesn't have to be this very ethereal, mystical, very intensive type of activity. Any small business, you just have to think about the problems that you have and just start there.
I like that. It's problem-based first, right? Where are my known inefficiencies? And sometimes you'll discover inefficiencies along the way as well. I got a bazillion more questions. I do want to get TJ involved here too. You got some slides for us. You got a whole little.
I do.
TJ. I love this.
Oh, we can go through them, or we can keep talking. I think the conversation's great.
Okay.
So,
well, what are you at? What is Workday and your involvement with AI? I mean, obviously this is an exciting world for you guys too.
yeah, it's an exciting world. Things are changing rapidly. You know, we've seen generative AI as being a big, significant improvement in personal productivity. And what we're starting to see is the next generation of AI tools coming to bear around agentic capabilities.
What was that
AI,
again?
Agentic.
I don't know what that means.
So agentic AI are autonomous bots, if you will, that will help individuals be better workers, right? Do their job at more efficient levels of scale, right? And so at Workday, we're investing quite heavily in providing agentic AI capabilities within our products to help financial administrators be more effective in doing financial audits. But there's always a human in the loop. So though I said autonomous, it's mostly semi-autonomous because there is a human in the loop, and that's an example of responsible AI at work.
Yeah, I mean, is there enough responsibility in the thought process as we develop AI? It's nice to hear that it is at Workday. I mean, that's got to be, if this is all going to work, right? Because there's some people predicting that none of us are going to have jobs in 15 years. I don't know how that's going to work. We need salaries to live. We need to buy things to consume them. Is responsibility an important part of making this all work as a human race and AI together?
Exactly. Yeah, responsible AI principles are critical. You know, taking into account the security of the data that is being utilized by agentic AI and also by general AI models as well is a critical element of any institution who is using a software-based platform for AI and agentic AI implementation. But at the core of the development of the AI, we have to take responsible processes into account to ensure that no bias is included within the AI models that are being used and being adopted by our customers. And then we continue to develop based upon that core foundation, yeah.
What should we be doing to prepare employees for all this?
You know, it's really interesting. I think Workday has done a lot internally to prepare our employees because, you know, we drink our own Kool-Aid, right? The idea is we provide an amazing set of tools around agentic AI and general generative AI capabilities for our staff to be much more productive in their day-to-day work. And what we do is we work with them in a very proactive way. Every individual within Workday has an everyday AI goal associated with their position, which is updated on a quarterly basis. How will I use AI to be a much more effective and efficient employee for Workday and continue to drive that forward? So we have internal tools that really help each one of our staff members be the best that they can be in their role.
I started it by saying we get a lot of callers who are in their 60s, 70s, 80s who are using AI. Do you find that it's egalitarian in its usage, that there are a lot of people that we'd consider older, I don't think that's old, but you know what I'm saying, that are buying into what's happening?
I think so. I think it kind of crosses a variety of different ages, demographics, you name it. There are a lot of different use cases on the personal side, but also on the professional side to help really drive efficiencies. Going to the storytelling, you know, I have a little bit of an experience in building electronics. So I build guitar amplifiers. I'm a musician at heart, and that's one of the things I really enjoy doing. So I built up an entire circuit the other day, and it did not work. I plugged it in, and I didn't get electrocuted, thank God. But I could not figure out where I made the error, where the issue was. Right? I snapped a picture of the circuit board. I submitted it to Claude, which is my generative AI tool of choice, and it was able to really identify the area where I did make the mistake. I corrected the mistake, it worked. You know, there are ways that you can create individual productivity enhancements. It's just a simple example, but you can apply that to your day-to-day work as well.
So, speaking of like limitations of AI, and I use ChatGPT. I haven't even tried Claude yet. I think I've tried Gemini. I don't even know, right? Like I plug so many questions into so many places. Who knows what I've done? But one of the things that we play dominoes, my husband and my brother-in-law, my brother and his wife. And the worst thing is if anyone's ever played Cuban dominoes before, you're left with so many tiles it's impossible to count those really quickly. You're doing dots, you're doing math. I tried to test it where I just took a picture of my tiles, and I said, "Tell me how many points I have for this round." And it couldn't do it. It couldn't figure it out. I tried to correct it about 10 times. It just did not know how to just count dots. And it just boggles my mind how it can find me something from old text from the 16th century, and it can't count dots. Now, maybe I'm not using the right one or I'm not plugging in the right thing, but we are at an interesting time where you have to still double-check work. You have to do that. Can you speak to a little bit about the limitations and how we manage those limitations and those hallucinations and how we make sure we don't get caught blind by it?
So remember, artificial intelligence gains intelligence from the past data, right? Now, if your data is not correct or if a data has a bias, the results will also have a biases. So that's why, I mean, getting the right teaming who can really challenge each other in a constructive way is very important. A classical limitation story, if I have to tell you one story on that, and you can check it on a Google, you can just Google this, and this is how, I mean, I do this education programs around the world, and this is probably one of the simplest one to explain to a middle school kid on the limitations of AI. Google this prompt, Mother Teresa fighting poverty. Very simple prompt.
Okay.
And say, generate an image. So the image which comes out is Mother Teresa fighting with 5 boys and girls coming from Africa. Now, so many biases in this, right?
Right.
So many things wrong. I mean, poverty, is it only Africa? No. Is it only young kids? Is it only black? Right? I mean, the moment you kind of demystify that, hey, this is a human biases coming to artificial intelligence, AI biases. So saying that AI has a bias is a wrong way of framing this. Who has a real bias? We have a real biases. And we have taught AI that those biases, right? Now, this is just a bias argument, right? I can give you many such, privacy issues, security issues, safety issues, ethical issues, right? Bioethical issues, physical ethical issues, right? So on and so forth. So ultimately, we need to really form a culture, a learning culture, whereby really be truly humans first, really understand each other better. If you don't do that and really assume that AI will have biases and we can really blame AI to solve all the biases, is so inaccurate.
It's blaming the mirror for how you look.
Blaming the mirror for how you look, exactly. You said it so well.
You
right?
can steal that. Just credit John Hansen.
Yeah, I would.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
WGN Radio.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I just add something there?
Please.
Because I think this is an important element of all this AI conversation. I think we have a little bit of an unrealistic expectation about AI. On one side, we're so excited about what it can do that we want it to be perfect right now and all the time. That's one thing. The second thing about being biased and hallucinating, if you think about this for a second, before AI, people like us, about a foot elevated from the floor and looking at all of you, you thinking we're experts. And we can be hallucinating right here, right now. And you're not checking us. You're not. I mean, you may be thinking, I don't know, Hernán may be saying something right, but I don't know. And then we come to the era of AI, and then that blame, we pass it to the machine. Now we say the machine is wrong, the machine is hallucinating. And at the same time, hallucination is the creativity that we put in that machine. So depending on the context, we look at the machine doing these crazy things and we say, oh my God, look at what it did. It is amazing. It just created something you've never seen before. And in a different context, the same creativity, we call it hallucination. That's us doing it. So the point here is, we need to really figure out where the element of mistake is. It's often in the data, actually not in the data, it's in how the data was created. So if you have an AI that is, for example, discriminating as an output, and you look at the data, what you have to come across is the data was created with a practice that was discriminating, and that's why that data came out that way. Your job is not to fix the AI. Your job is to fix that practice that created that data. And so we're not connecting the dots, right? We find it easy to say AI is doing this, and there's a long history of us doing it before the machine.
You brought up all great points. You brought up the idea of the Mother Teresa fighting poverty. We see this a lot with people who apply for jobs and the companies using AI to filter out applications, that AI is spitting out the same biases that we have in hiring practices by finding different things in different resumes that might move someone to the top of the list, but all that is exposing a biases and I imagine this is, from an HR and Workday perspective. I think Illinois has passed a law now saying that there has to be a human in the middle of the decision. You can use AI to hire, but there has to be a human. Is that part of this responsible AI? It's acknowledging that and writing laws and managing it in a way that tries as much as possible to remove that.
Yeah, you're right on the money. It's the idea that biases in AI exists, that's real, right? So what we have to do is have a human in the loop at key decision points within our processes that are being managed by AI, be it agentic AI capabilities or just generative AI that is baked within the products that we utilize to help with our efficiencies, such as Workday's talent management solution and whatnot. So we provide those kind of capabilities whereby a human is brought in at the right time to make the domain expert judgment that's necessary to ensure ethical practice.
And that's something I think that's a takeaway for everyone. If you're using AI in a business, even if it's just yourself, that's you. You're the human. Guess what? You got to check the work. You got to do this. If you're a bigger company, you need to identify people that are going to be at those choke points. Boy, I could go on and on. We have time for some questions, and I'd like to at least open the floor to them, because we're getting kind of heady about all this stuff, and I want to make sure there's some real practical takeaways for the room. So we got the microphones coming. We give them a second. That way I don't have to call on people they pick. Sure, right over here first. Say your name first, please.
My name is Avi. So I'm working on AI area. What I feel is that if we agree that knowledge is connecting the dots, we have a lot of data all over the world. The AI LLM have sucked all the data from the internet. The training what is creating is connecting the dot and creating knowledge. So I would refer to call what Gen AI is doing as artificial knowledge rather than artificial intelligence, because AI itself has multiple technologies within it, right? Expert system, LLM, machine learning, and others. So what would you respond to that rather than call it AI, call it AK, basically?
Like that we already have the knowledge base. What do you think about that? That it's not intelligence?
Yeah, that's a very, very valid point. AI is bringing that connection based on the past knowledge, right? But how do I apply that knowledge for myself? Is that insight or intelligence or wisdom, whichever terms you use, right? You're absolutely right. Just having that super connection of knowledge is not going to solve something. If learning and knowledge is all available already in that sense, the true learning will be, what do I do with that? How do I apply that? How do I solve something with that? I think that's where we are headed. And especially, he used a very appropriate term called judgment or judging. I think as a skill, I mean, from a future of work standpoint, I mean, what skills are very important? It's a very important conversation over there. Judgment as a skill is getting last few months in the research, AI research literature, a lot of critical importance, I would say, because now you're talking of agentic AI, so agents, humans, and robots, 3 types of potential workforce at your disposal. Now, if I'm a small business, and I don't have a luxury of getting some experts, technologists to come and help me redesign everything, right? And the true value comes in not just by throwing the tools, but really redesigning my workflow for my own organization process, for my targeted goal and all that. Now, I as a leader need to judge where should human and agent work, where should human alone, where is agent alone, where is robot alone, where is human and agent, where is agent and robot, where is human and robot, and where are all the 3. So you're talking of 7 situations suddenly. Now, most important thing is, how do I judge? For what processes, what flow, what business goal, which of these 7 options is most relevant, with less bias, least problematic, and yet easier for my current workforce, rather than saying that, hey, now I will change everything.
Right.
So these are the true judgment moments.
It's a great question, great point, great response. Yep, over here.
Hi, I'm Donald Reed with my own branding corporation. I use AI a lot. It's helped me as an entrepreneur do my job better. Now, my question is, what probability do you believe that agentic AI will make the mistakes in comparison to generative AI?
Yeah, and we've done a ton of research and a ton of work on building out proof of concept agents within our Workday platform to test just that, to ensure that what is generated and what decisions are made are well governed within the environment. In essence, we're providing guardrails, right, for the agentic experience within Workday. And we have that. I mean, it's a great opportunity because we have full control over how those agents work within the Workday environment. Once you start getting outside of that and you start leveraging agent-to-agent interactions and whatnot, that's where things start getting a little hairy, and you've got to be very responsible in the approach that you take to test and validate. So it's hard to come up with a specific ratio as to how I feel it would work out. But in essence, what we're seeing is the better the guardrails, the better the response. So in essence, we're putting up the technical guardrails to ensure that you are not having any negative response. And if there is, you're the human in the loop who has the ability to evaluate and determine what the next step is taken before the transaction is committed. All right, so I think it's a very important part. The human in the loop aspect here is going to keep agents agentic output closer to 100% accuracy, though there will always be challenges that have to be addressed by a human.
Will there always be a human in the loop?
I would hate to say always, because I think fully autonomous agents are coming, but the idea of responsible AI really does require a level of humanistic input. The blending of human and machine is really the future of work.
Right. Not that the human will be right in the loop. Maybe the human's over here now instead. Maybe there's a couple loops going and the human's above. I don't know. Boy, I got a little scared there myself. Okay, yeah, over here.
Hi, my name is Eduardo Silva. I'm with Silva Business Consulting. So with AI, we touched upon it a little bit about the safeguards and about the responsibility, but what I didn't hear about was the security of it. So when I see some, say, advertisements for using AI to make a spreadsheet with customer information and data to give you insights on a quick action note, how safe is that data from, saying, getting in competitors? Can competitors find that information online? Is that really a thing? Because I could tell some customers and clients, if I tell them I use AI in some of my consulting work, some of them do question and have a fear of some of their data getting into the hands of, say, their competitors or other people. How do you, as your company, safeguard against that? And how do we, as like small businesses, start now to be able to convince those customers that it's safe?
Great question.
So I'm going to say, let's go back to about 20 years and cloud, because we've been here before, right? Like the data conversation, the data security conversation already happened. And in the era of AI, it's really not that different. It is a little different, but it is not that different. So in my mind, there's two elements. And we had that when we were dealing with data security in the cloud time. You have to have the right contracts. Right, so you have to hold your AI providers to some level of expectations when it comes to your data. And the other thing is the technology is going to get better over time. So we're going to get better at that. Cybersecurity risk will always exist. Always. There's always what we call residual risk. So somebody's going to have to do a risk assessment at some point, and they exist already. And companies are going to have to accept the residual risk. There are some protections in the contract vehicles, there are some protections in the technology, and the rest is residual risk. And you have to accept it if you want to do business with AI, and that's the same with cloud. And the conversation is so old that we don't talk about that conversation anymore in cloud. It just moved to AI, but it's virtually the same conversation.
Yeah, one key consideration to take into account when looking at the contracts for AI service providers that you're going to be using is whether or not they utilize the data that you are feeding the system to retrain the model. If they are, that opens up a wide variety of security challenges that you'll have to deal with. And Workday, we are very much focused on utilizing proprietary large language models that we have built that are centrally managed from a security perspective, so that data is not being used outside of the Workday ecosystem, outside of your tenant.
Yeah, a couple of points to add on this. Just as a starting initial compute infrastructure, you have now far more choices like AI PCs, which allows you to do your own compute in an absolutely private, safe, smaller compute environment right in your laptop.
That's a plug. That's a plug for Lenovo, by the way. So thank you.
Yeah,
I didn't do it because I'm from Lenovo, but there you go.
So that allows you to do a lot of AI workload right on your compute so that your data remains absolutely private. It doesn't go out. So, and I mean, you can form your own hybrid AI strategy at what moment your data should go up in the cloud, what moment AI can stay with you, right on your own computer. So I think that is one point. Purely from an education standpoint, I think we have to do a lot more. One of the things which we do with community colleges, universities, and even in K-12 schools is create a lot more awareness in education. One of the very hot topic right now is AI for cybersecurity and cybersecurity for AI. So we have very popular courses on this for universities and community colleges. But even for the small businesses, digital trust, what is the risk, resilience, responsibility mindsets, right? So it's a tool set, skill set, mindset. You have to think about all these three together and create right awareness, right? How do I understand the risk? How do I be more resilient for myself? And how do I create responsibility, right? So these are the new mindsets we are talking for the digital trust.
Great question. Yep, over there.
Yeah, hi, this is Henry Hodge, research manager with the Illinois Economic Development Corporation. Got some experts here. So how much do you use AI and what do you use it for?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, all the time, but again, I use it with eyes wide open. All the time for every single thing. I mean, in my job, I'm talking to people all over the world, right? So use AI for my own personal productivity. But by the way, my own secret sauce, I mean, I do AI scaling programs around the world. So I need to be really latest and updated because I don't know to whom I'm talking. I'm talking to policymakers and all kinds of people. So I use AI to stay updated myself. So if I'm talking on AI safety as a topic, right, to families and the communities and the government official, and I really want to understand what your state AI protection acts are for families. You know, before walking into the conversation, quickly I'll ask this question, hey, give me 3 policy regulations available, because I want to talk about AI PC as a starting cognitive infrastructure for AI safety for families, right? And I will quickly get 3 regulations available in your state so that I can talk intelligently. In my old days, 10 years back, it would have taken me 3 hours of work. Now I can do that in 3 minutes before getting into the conversation very quickly.
What in your personal life do you use AI for, though? Personal life.
Personal?
Like cooking recipes? Like what do you? Yeah, like in your personal life.
In my own personal life for AI, okay, so 2 answers to this. As a father of a 16-year-old daughter, right? I really, really, want her to be very careful on what not to give to AI, right? So really teaching the digital trust, what to trust, what not to trust. Because she's in her own school, she goes to all kinds of platforms, right? I mean, at one moment she's doing something on Snap, something on Insta, something on TikTok, right? All the works. So really teaching her how to be truly responsible with her own data and her own behavior, and really instilling that mindset that AI has to work for me rather than I working for AI. That's a big shift as a father I'm trying to drive, right? Because AI is everywhere. There's no doubt about it. And AI is very essential part of our life. But I need to have a true autonomy and agency rather than teaching AI, who am I? AI has to be of my help rather than I have to be of foreign AI help. So that's my personal. At a professional or, okay, you still ask me for a personal, right? One of the things which I think I'm not very good at is in my own personal health management, right? So I'm trying to teach my own AI to really help me do very simple things like, okay, I've not taken a walk, right? Give me a good alert. Okay, Anshul, you are falling behind so much on a daily basis, on your daily steps. So I hope I'm teaching my AI to give me more responsible answers on this.
And I'll let you guys answer too, but I use it for, I never know what to watch. So we give it our favorite 10 shows that we watched recently. And I say, give me the top 3 things that are kind of like this on these sorts of platforms, the ones that we buy. And I love all those shows. But really quickly, what else do you guys use AI
Yeah,
for?
no, quickly. So I wake up every morning now. I didn't do this before. And I just type in my digital assistant, what's important for me today.
Really?
And it just gives me the critical, it's connected to my email, my calendar, everything that I have set, my documents, and it tells me really the things that I need to do right away. So I'm gonna go to the airport after this session. I haven't been answering email for like 2 days because I've been in the conference. Go to the airport, sit down, and the first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say, what do I need to take care of right now? Just like that. And it tells me exactly what I need to do. I promised somebody that I was gonna call somebody at 3 p.m. and it's 4 now. So I do that in a professional setting. In the personal setting, there's something that I will never do again, and it's plan a trip myself. I will never do that. I cannot match the machine. I'm gonna go run a marathon in Milan in April, and I'm gonna be there for 10 days in Europe. And I was trying to figure out, like, where am I gonna go? And I just told the machine, I'm gonna be here in Europe from this day in this city to this day in this city. What should I do? Just in 10 minutes, he gave me 3 options, and the 3 options are fantastic. I don't have to spend that time anymore.
It's a good one.
Anybody else here love Gemini Deep Research? Or am I the only one? Okay, it is a great tool. I cannot tell you enough. I use Gemini Deep Research every day, and if I'm researching a specific institution or a consortium of higher education institutions and what their core strategic direction is for the next future, what their financials are, I can bring that content together very simply in one quick prompt. Now, that's where domain expertise comes into play as well, because you do not just want to take it for gold as it is, right? So really going in and deeply understanding what the sources are for that content and how it was presented is critically important. But really surfacing that content in minutes versus what would take hours or days in many cases. Personally, I gave you the whole guitar amp deal, right? So I do make mistakes in circuit design, so I use it quite a bit in there. But again, I would say, yeah, I planned a trip to California, and I was looking for the best place with the best surf, and San Clemente is the place to be, I guess. So I'm heading there in about 3 weeks.
I know there's a billion other questions. We are out of time. We got to move on to the next panel in a 10-minute break. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm sure these 3 gentlemen won't mind answering a couple questions in front of the stage if you guys want to come on up. But how about a round of applause? This was awesome.